Hey guys, so in this tutorial we're gonna make snowmen together, and throughout this process I will introduce you to different perspectives and edit mode. So let's get started. This is what you will see once you open a new Blender project, right? I want to get rid of this cube because we don't need a cube for snowman, we need spheres. So to delete, we need to left click on the cube, and the shortcut for delete is Shift X. Deleted. And after we deleted, you will probably see this. Well, even before we deleted it, we can see this kind of like a dashed circle in the middle of the screen. That is the 3D cursor. So 3D cursor determines the center of the 3D objects and where it's going to be displayed in this 3D world. So we can actually move around this 3D cursor. To move it, we come to this toolbar on the left and click on cursor, and then we can just place it anywhere in this viewport. And the shortcut for moving that is Shift right click. Yeah, so we don't need to come to here every time, we can just Shift right click. So let's say we want to create a snowman from here. To add new object to the viewport, we can go to Add here, and under Mesh, there are some primitive shapes we can use. And the shortcut for that is Shift A, and this is the exact same menu. We're going to add a UV sphere. All right, there you go. I changed my mind. I'm gonna build my snowman from the center of this of this 3D viewport, and the reason I want to do it is because I want to show you if you move the 3D cursor away from this origin, how you can move it back, right? So let's delete this sphere first. And you might think, okay, well, I can just click Shift right click here to place it back to the origin. But the thing is, this might be tricking us, like our eyes might be tricking us. Because if you rotate around it, you will see it's actually not really the center. I guess you can Shift and right click again. Just try to get it as closer as possible. But if you want it to be back to the real origin of this 3D viewport, you can do Shift S. Shift S. And then you can do cursor to world origin. Okay. Well, I don't know if you see it. I'm going to do it again. So Shift S. See? So now the origin snapped back to the center of this viewport. All right. Now we're going to add the sphere again. Shift A, Mesh, UV sphere. And then I'm going to use this as a body of the snowman. And to make the head, I think you can Shift A again and just add another sphere, right? But I'm just going to show you how to duplicate things so we can use the body as a copy for the head. And to do that, we need to left click on the sphere, and then the shortcut for duplication is Shift D. And after that, see, we made a duplication of the original ball. And we want to make sure the head sits right on top of the body. So we can press Z. So there, the two balls are aligned on the Z-axis. And also over here in the outliner, you can see we already created a new copy of it. All right, now I'm going to scale down the head a little bit because it's too big as a head. Maybe even smaller. Okay, that's pretty good. The next thing I'm going to talk about is something called orthographic views. So right now we've been using something called user perspective. So basically it's a 3D perspectives. But you might be wondering, what are the directions here in the 3D world, right? Yes, we have the X, Y, Z, but what exactly is the front and where exactly is the back, left and right? Actually, Blender already decides that for us. And to see the front of this 3D, or any direction in this 3D viewport, we can come to this sign here, which I talked about in the previous tutorial when we're talking about move, scale, and rotate. So they are color coded, so we know which axis we're dealing with. But you can actually click on them. So if we click on Z, and you see here, it changed from user perspective to top orthographic. Basically, that means we're looking down on the snowman from the top. And if we try Y, that's the back of the orthographic. And then we try X, that's the right side. And there are also short keys for that. Okay, let me back up a little bit. So the reason why we use directions, it's because, not just because we don't know which side we're dealing with, but also because sometimes when we're dealing with precisions, like we want to make sure certain things are actually aligned, so we can actually view it from like different perspective to make sure they are actually in the right location we want it to be. I will demonstrate this later by creating a hand later. But before doing that, I want to mention the short keys for like this different directions. It's actually on the numeric keyboard. So if you have those mechanical keyboard, and on the side they usually have a bunch of numbers, that's called numeric keypad. And if you press 1, let's go to the front, and then 3, it's the right, and then 7, I believe, yeah, it's the top. But for people who don't have the numeric keypad, like myself, I actually just have, something really small, but very convenient. There's a way you can do it by changing the setting in the preferences. So in input, make sure you check the emulate numpad. What it does, it turns all the numbers on the top of your keyboards into the numpad keys. So now I can just press 1, 3, and 7 to view the snowman from different perspectives. And another thing you might want to ask is, okay, so what if I want to see it from, the back side or the bottom? That's very easy. You just need to add control to the number. So let's do control 1 or control 3. I know they all look identical at this point because, unfortunately, we're dealing with balls and they look the same from different angles. But let's do control 7. Now you can see that's the bottom of the snowman because we're viewing from the body instead of the head, right? Okay, let's do 1 again. So now let's make a branch. We can shift right click and then shift A to create a cylinder. Make it smaller. And then that's scaled up along the z-axis. Yeah, it's a little bit too big. All right, and then let's rotate it. Maybe move it out a little bit. Okay, cool. And we can see. Usually after I create one object, I would just, orbit around it to make sure it's in the right place, or we can just use like 1, 3, and 7 to make sure they are all actually connected. Because there are situations when you create one object and you thought it's in the right place, but when you orbit it, you realize it's actually not attached to other parts of your thing, right? I'm gonna just make a little smaller branch here, the offshoot. Okay, so Shift A, And cylinder again, S to scale it down, and S, Z to scale it on the Z axis. Let's just scale down a little bit, and then rotate. Okay. This is a perfect example. So from this perspective, it looks like these two are connected, but when I orbit it, I realize, this is not. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna do numpad 3, and then select this smaller branch, and then G, Y. I can also check from the Z. Oh, actually the top view doesn't really help here. Yeah, but now they're connected, right? Cool. So at this point, all these shapes are made of primitive objects. I think there are lots of things you can do with very primitive shapes by just adding and subtracting. But if you really want to get into 3D modeling, I will recommend you use something called edit mode. So right now we're actually in object mode, and to go into edit mode, we can, first of all, we need to decide which object we want to change. So I would say I'll probably, I want to make a nose. So one way I can do it is just, create maybe a cone or something and then attach it to the face. But what if, I don't want to do that? I just want to change the sphere so it's not a sphere anymore. And to do that, I need to go into edit mode. And the shortcut to toggle between edit mode and object mode is tab. So that's how you toggle in and toggle out. And immediately you can see it looks a little bit different from object mode because there are lots of dots. So these dots are vertices. They're essentially just dots, and together, after you connect them together, they will make a 3D object. So let's go through all this 3D terminology one by one. So I mentioned vertex, and to select vertex, you need to come here and then click on this, and now you can select specific vertex. If you have two vertices, and that's the plural, you will have something called edge. It's essentially just a line, right? So to select line, you can, press one vertex and then shift, left click another one. Now you have a line. But another way to do it is actually come to here. It's called edge. Just click on it. Right, see, now you click. You can select them instead of, multi-clicking different vertices. And if you have 3 edges, let me just show you. Now you will have a face. And with multiple faces, you can make a 3D project. You can also come here and then just select the face. This is the face selection tool. And same with, in object mode where you can rotate, scale, and move. You can also do that with vertices, edge, and faces here. So let's say I want to make, what do I want to make? I want to make nose, right? So one way to do it is I'll go back to the vertex selection tool, and this point is where I'm gonna pull out as the nose of the snowman. So let's do G, and then along y-axis, you can see I can just pull it out like that, right? So now we already have a nose. The thing with vertices is because they are just a dot, so you cannot scale it or rotate it because they don't really have a size and a direction. But with faces and edges, you can definitely scale and rotate and also move them. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So let's see, we have a nose. How about we make eyes? So I will decide this two, but actually this two will be the eyes of the snowman. But instead of coming out, I want to make sure they go back in. This will be a really weird snowman. So let's do G and Y again. So you see I'm pushing in, and because they're going in, they're dragging all the faces along them. I can even rotate it. Ooh, this is weird. But I kind of like it. Cool. What else do we want to do to edges? Let me... I don't know. Maybe like ears. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna demonstrate it. So I'm sure you guys are more creative than me. How about a mouse? So this. This is a mouth. And then I'm gonna put it out. So G and Y again. So there you go. I can rotate it if I want, but I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Okay. So this is edit mode. So you can see immediately we can make something really different from a sphere. I mean, if I want to go crazy, I can actually completely distort the shape of it. I know here it's still called sphere here because that was the name that comes with the shape when we first created. But compared to this sphere, it looks very different now, right? Okay, so this is orthographic views and then edit modes. So let me know if you have any questions. In the next week, we're gonna actually make a character together.